to joke that the first boarding school I ever went to was MIT.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
My K-12 was all public schools. And I slept at home. But then I go to MIT and I end up right away. In those days, you would enter as a fraternity member. And so I'm suddenly living in a house with a bunch of guys. It's different from my home. I didn't have my mom to do my laundry. We had to cook our own food. So that was it was fun.
I would be curious what you guys ended up cooking.
Well, we had a cook.
Oh my gosh.
McElhaney was his name, and he would cook, and then he would be the head cook, and then we would sign up, and our duty was to help the cook prepare the meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But McElhaney was the chef, so it wasn't a very healthful diet.
Okay.
Hamburgers and beans and.
But you were fed. You were nourished. You could focus on your studies.
Yeah.
That's good. And then looking back, is there any kind of key lesson? What do you think you learned the most from your time in college?
Well, I learned to enjoy it. So I loved school. And part of doing that is how you choose what courses you take. And some of that is related. You'll get a lot of advice that says you should take courses related to your passion. And then you'll get a lot of advice that says you should take courses related to making money when you graduate. But I have a third way, which worked for me, which is take the courses with the best professors.
Oh, I like that one.
So find out who the best professors are, no matter what subject they teach. And go to those courses. Now, you have to be a little bit careful. You want to graduate eventually.
Yes.
But choosing the best professors rather than the passion one or I'm really passionate about chemistry, but the chemistry professor is a loser, so you don't take that course. And so you change your mind, and you don't end up being a chemist because the professor wasn't any good. I think that's a better decision criteria than the other two. Find who your upperclassmen, like in our fraternity, the upperclassmen would tell you who the good professors are.
That's right. You have knowledge banks.
Yeah. So we had big brothers in our fraternity who would be helpful. So upperclassmen are useful. Advisors, they've just been through it. They can tell you which are the easy courses, which are the hard courses, which are the good professors, which are the bad professors.
And what has your college degree meant for you? Is it something that you think about or has helped you in your career? Because you have folks can Google him. He has a fascinating background. What has the college degree meant?
So I have lots of college degrees. I got 2 bachelor's degrees from MIT, and it took me 5 years. One in industrial management. And then my dad, when he heard that my degree was going to be industrial management, he said to me, "We didn't send you to MIT to study management." So I stayed a 5th year, and I got an electrical engineering degree. So I have 2 bachelor's, which is unusual, 2 bachelor's degrees, one in industrial management. Now, my father was a union member. For him, the word management was the enemy, this union versus management. His son was studying to be management, so he didn't like that. So he sort of pushed me toward getting an engineering degree, which is what I did my 5th year. So I got both BS's degrees. Then I went to Harvard. I got a master's degree in applied mathematics, and then I got a Ph.D. So those are 4 really classy degrees.
Those are.
And I think the situation has changed. But in those days, those degrees were worth a lot. You would be considered for I never had trouble getting a job because I just would flash these degrees, and they were evidence of competence and conscientiousness. I think that's less true today. I think people look more for specific skills and experience related to the job at hand. I think the degrees are in decline. I think degrees overall are in decline in importance, but my 4 were beauties. I leveraged them to the hill.
Well, and it's interesting with the rise of online education or some positions that don't require a college degree at all, that it is changing, and it's good to know what's out there and to figure out what's going to be right for each person. Right. Absolutely. So what do you do now?
Well, I've in my 5th career, so I've been fortunate. My careers have each lasted about 10 years. I was an engineer scientist for 15 years, and then I was an entrepreneur, executive in my own company in Silicon Valley for 13 years, and then I was a venture capitalist in Boston for 10 years, and then I skipped one. I was a publisher and a pundit for a trade magazine called InfoWorld, and I did
interesting.
I was with InfoWorld and its parent company, IDG, for 9 years. Learned how to write, learned how to sell advertising. So those are 4 careers. I'm now in my 5th career, which is a professor of innovation, which is helping faculty and students at research universities start companies.
That's excellent.
And I've been at that 6 years, so as I told my boss yesterday, I got 4 years to go.
Get him before he goes on to the next career. Is there any advice that you would share with high school students who are looking to apply to college?
Well, I believe, since I loved going to school so much, and you may not.
I loved it. I collected a few degrees.
Anyway, but I'm not foolish enough to think that everyone agrees with me. But I
Yes.
enjoyed college, and so I went for 23 years.
Mm-hmm.
From kindergarten to Ph.D. For me was 23 years. And I loved it, and I just went as far as you could go. That may not be for you.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a bunch of famous billionaires who dropped out as freshmen in college. Maybe I should have done that. Maybe I'd be rich.
You've done pretty well for yourself.
I've done very well. So the advice I have is if you can stand it, you should get as much schooling as possible. You should apply to college. You should not set your heart on any one college.
That's right.
I think there's about 4,000 colleges out there
That
that
is
are worth
accurate.
a damn.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And when our kids were ready for college, I visited a bunch of them, some of which I'd never heard of. And they were, when I got there, I went, holy smokes, this is a real college. Look at this. So there's 4,000 of them. So one mistake you could make is to set your heart on, say, as I did.
Yes.
I was determined to go to MIT, and thank God I got in due to some clerical error at MIT. But setting your heart on just one of them, that's just too risky. And you want to have 10 of them. You know, the standard advice.
That's
you have
right.
some easy ones and some middle ones and some hard ones and apply a mix. And don't have your heart set on anyone. Like if your mom went to Dartmouth, don't decide that you'll only be happy if you get into Dartmouth. Dartmouth's very hard to get into.
It is.
And so getting your heart set is a mistake. And then there's choosing what schools to apply to, and that you should assess your academic performance to date versus what they're looking for, and that'll help narrow it down. Because some have very high standards. I doubt I could get into MIT if I applied today. MIT standards have been going up and up and up and up. Stanford, Harvard, they're all astronomically high. So choose the schools you stand in. Well, take some long shots. I think it's worthwhile to take some long shots. But,
It is.
But balance them with some safe schools on your list. But then you have to, choosing that 10 is kind of interesting. And you guys should go visit them if you can. I learned that I was told through the process of seeing our kids through the process, that the number one criterion that students use to choose a college after they've been accepted, the number one criterion is the student who gives them the tour.
Oh, that's right. So who's the person that they had an actual interaction with? What did they feel from it?
So some schools, like Boston College, they figured this out. So when we took our kids to tour Boston College, they got the tour of a lifetime. The sharpest kids you could imagine, and it was so Boston College has figured this out. Other schools have not, and so they just hire their tour students randomly from the population, some of whom are not outgoing. Oh, by the way, to be a tour guide, you have to be able to walk backwards.
That's right. It's a real skill.
So I guess the advice there is you probably should not succumb to this. That is, you probably should not let the tour person be your principal criterion.
I think that's good advice.
You might look at the weather. You might want to look at the majors. Does the school specialize in something you're interested in taking? Oddly, I entered college thinking I was going to be an architect. It was important to me that MIT had the oldest architecture school in the world, so that was consistent. I wanted to be an architect. But here's a lesson. First week, so I imagine that I went to MIT because I wanted to be an architect, and there's the School of Architecture. Everything's perfect. I sign up freshman year for the introductory course to architecture, and the first assignment was draw your own hand.
Oh.
So for a week, I struggled to draw my own hand, and I could not do it. So I dropped the course, and I switched majors. I switched into physics. Then later I would switch into management. And then later I would switch. I skipped math. architecture, math, physics, and then later management, and then engineering. Now that's peculiar to MIT. Mm-hmm. So at MIT, when you're admitted to any major. So you can jump around. You declare a major, whereas like the University of Texas, it's not so easy. You apply.
That's right. You'll start with a specific.
We should fix the University of Texas should fix that, because it's a little early to. As my story about architecture.
That's right.
Proves, freshmen are really too early to decide what their criteria is. So admitting people into narrow specialties is probably not a good idea. And MIT learned that a long time ago. So I was able to jump majors a bunch of times.
And find the one that really fit.
Right. And one I found, by the way, didn't exist. It was computing. And in the 1960s, there was no computer science department anywhere. So at MIT, the beginnings of computing was in the electrical engineering department. So my degree in electrical engineering is really MIT's version of computer science. And then when I went to Harvard, I got degrees in applied mathematics, because that was Harvard's version of computer science. Okay. So I ended up in computing, but I had no notion I was going to be in computing when I entered college.
That's excellent. Then I have just one question for you. Because you are a professor, and we talk at Prepify so much about going to college, if you find yourself on campus, what should students do or take advantage of regardless of their major? So one thing you already mentioned was find those professors that are really fascinating, and you can ask the upperclassmen. Is there anything else for those who are on college campuses?
Well, you may not like this, but I think physical fitness is a big thing.
Yeah, I think it can help with a lot of different
So you don't want to go to school, start drinking soft drinks with a lot of sugar, and get fat, and eat pizza, and lay around, and be lazy, and so on. So I played varsity sports, and was able to keep my weight down. But sports have the feature of building your stamina and energy levels. So I think it's important that you get involved with even just rec sports. You don't have to be a varsity player, but just to get up and stay healthy. Yep. I see too many students. They're suddenly, for the first time, out of the grasp of their parents.
That's right.
So they say, I'm now free to do whatever I want. What do I want to do? I want to eat tons of pizza and drink sugar and soft drinks. And that's the wrong.
Yep. So
wrong
staying
answer.
active, I absolutely agree with that. And I think that's good advice, not just for those on college campuses, but for all of us wherever we find ourselves.
Forever.
Absolutely.
You need to be healthy. Exercise does not tire you out. Exercise builds stamina and gives you energy. So if you think of it that way, then you're more likely to do it.
And you have a wife who is very into this as well.
Well, she
does some ultra marathons.
Well, she cheats. She's only 105 pounds. I'm 240 pounds. It's much harder.
You got more weight to carry.
It's not fair what she does. But she and our two kids are ultra triathletes. And you can just see it. These are the most energetic people you've ever met. They get up, they crack at dawn, they're full of energy and vitality, and then they go run 20 miles, and they come back and shower, and they're ready. And sports gives you energy. It does not take energy away.
I think that's a good point. Well, Bob, it was really nice to chat with you, and I feel like I learned a lot just about your journey and also about MIT, some of these other institutions, and I think it's going to be really helpful for our students. And so for Prepify, we thank you, but also the different contributions you've made in society in general. It's also a real pleasure to have you as part of this, so thank you so much.
Thank you.